In terms of youth involvement at the climate talks so far, you've probably seen them go on. They've been going on for a week. How would you assess how involved youth groups are and youth are in this process?
You know, I think young people are extremely involved in this process. There are a lot of young people that I've seen throughout this week. Also, the visit of the UN Secretary General Special Envoy on Youth, Ahmed Al-Hendawi, even his visit marked quite a significant presence over here at the convention. But I think the target audience shouldn't be just the youth present at this conference. Our challenge in dealing with climate change is not young people who are actually raising their voices. It's against people who are not, children who are unaware of things like these, children who are feeling the effects of climate change but are not informed enough of how to deal with it or how to respond to it. So I think if we can take this convention back to our countries, back to where we come from, to young people who have not entered the corridors of this national stadium, then I think that would involve young people most, and that's when things like these will succeed.
And so, Alesha, what would you tell young people back at home and all around the world if you had the opportunity to speak to people about this meeting?
I think it's very important for them to be aware of climate change and the impact it has on them. As Ahmed had said in his talk, he said the youth need something tangible. They need something they can see for them to understand it. And I think the whole concept of going from global to local is what we should focus on. And the youth needs to be more aware of the environment issues.
Does that put more pressure on governments to educate children more? Because fundamentally it comes down to national governments providing effective education.
Most definitely. I think it's very significant and important for national governments to take up the responsibility to educate their youth about it, because at the end of the day it is them they are the ones who are going to live through it and experience all the changes.
Okay, and you know, in terms of the meetings that you've had and the people you've spoken to, do you think they're sort of receptive to what young people have to say within the process? Give us a sense of who you've been speaking to in the past few days.
So, one thing I'd like to point out is at international forums like these, when governments come, when national delegations come to places like these, they've already decided their stance back in their countries, and they just come to conferences like these to take that stance. So there's very little that young people can do at these conferences. These conferences are for young people to learn and take back to their country. The activism starts in the countries themselves. If young people pressurize their governments, the national delegation that is going to come over here from their country itself, they are going to change their stance over here. They are going to change their position over here. They are going to move from a fossil fuel carbon industry to a green economy. So the first step is at the national level. Only then its effects can be enhanced at an international level through conferences like these, where country A is going to share their best practices with country B, and the young people in this process, when we are present over here, learn from what's happening in other countries and are able to take it back to ours.
Alesha, a final question really. I mean, in terms of the young people at this conference, how do they all get on? How does everyone interact? Do you see the same divisions at a youth level as we see at a national level between the different governments?
No, I think on the contrary, everyone's very united. And I think they all do understand that climate change didn't happen at a summit. It happened at a ground level. And if we need to do something about it, it has to be at a ground level. And I think they're far more united and they're far more passionate, probably because they're young, about climate change and about their future than probably us seniors.